Hi everybody, today we're taking a look at the Tone Capture GTR by Mooer Audio. The Tone Capture is a IR, you can think of it as a guitar emulator pedal, which will take profiles of some of your favorite guitars and store them so that you can use them against your main guitar, which is very, very cool and very, very handy. For each one of these slots, there's 7 of them in total. You can also have an individual EQ setting, and there's also a buffered bypass setting and a USB update for firmware. So let's plug this thing in and check it out. All right, so one of the things that it can also do is it can switch between buffered and true bypass. So you're going to, in order to do that, what you need to do is you need to remove the power supply, and then you're going to hold down the foot switch. So if it goes in ascending order, that means from number 1 to number 7, that means that it is in buffered bypass mode. And if it goes in descending order, that means from 7 to 1, it's going to be in true bypass. So let's see how this works. So if I remove the power supply and then I hold down the foot switch, plug it in, and then let go, you can see it's gone from 1 to 7. So that's the ascending order. So that means it's now in a buffered bypass mode. Okay, so now if I go take the power supply out again, and then I leave the foot switch on, I'm holding it as I'm putting the power supply in, so keep that in mind. All right, and then I'm going to let go, and now it's going from 7 to 1. So now it's in true bypass. So you can select between the different modes there by using a combination of the plugging of the power supply and the holding down of the foot switch. All right, so the first guitar that we're going to make a profile of is it's a genuine Fender Telecaster. So this is part of the Highway 1 USA series. So you've got your standard maple neck, and you've got your regular tele body, three-way selector. We're just going to keep it on the bridge for our purposes here with your single coil settings. So let's take a look at the second guitar that we're going to use. All right, so the second guitar that we're going to make a profile of is a genuine Gibson Les Paul. This is the 2007 Guitar of the Week, and only a very few of them were made, and they were all hand painted. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a little signature down there over by the neck. And so a very cool, very interesting guitar to play. And I want to thank Pete Jaffelis, who is a great guitar player friend of mine, teacher friend of mine. And he was graciously good enough to loan this guitar to me. And I would like to actually put a shout out to him because he's also a guitar teacher. And you can find information from him using the website that I have attached here. And his school is called the Jaff Guitar School. So you can go check them out as well. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's get started on the Mooer GTR tone capture. So you'll notice that there's 7 slots to choose from. I'm just going to quickly show you how you do that. So the LED button will allow you to scroll between. So I get my fingers in here, but as you can see, so the first 2 are actually saved, and you can tell that by the solid light. And then as I scroll down, you can see the flashing lights. So that means that those slots are available. Now, if I want to delete, what I do is I'll make sure that I'm on that selected slot. I'll turn it off, and then I'll hold the LED button down. And you can see it quickly flash there. So now when I turn it back on, now you can see that it's flashing. And then the other one that I had saved is still solid there. So I will have 6 that are available and 1 that's saved. So I'm just going to delete the second one as well, because I'm going to use that position there. So same idea, flashing lights. And now everything, sorry about my fingers there, everything should be available. And it is. All right. Okay, so now we're ready to start the actual capture process. So what we're going to do is I've got the tele here, and I'm going to get started on what's called the target. So with the target, it's the actual guitar that you're trying to emulate. So you want to get a good impulse response load on the target using the target guitar first. So what we're going to do is obviously everything's plugged in, and we're going to make sure that we're on a slot that we want. So I could select any of them, but I'm just going to start with the first one right now. And then I'm going to press and hold the foot switch. And when I do that, you'll see the light turn red. So that means that the target is ready to go. It's yeah, it knows that we're in the target state. It hopes that you have your target guitar ready to go, which we do. Key thing to keep in mind though is between the target and the source guitars, you'll want to make sure that you're on the same pickup selection. It gets the best IR comparison, if that makes sense. So if you're planning on making the profile of the front pickup, do it on both guitars. Same thing. Try to keep the pickup selection the same. I find that that works best. So it's ready to go. So what we're going to do is with the red light on, we're just going to hit this button, and then it's going to do a scrolling countdown. And I'll just show you for a second here. All right, so you can see how it's doing a little chase there with the lights, and 7 will go solid. And so you'll see each number going solid, and that's basically the countdown, and this is how much time that you have remaining to play, okay, so that it can get a good capture. And if you want to do it again, you'll just go through it again. You just continue to hit the foot switch, it'll do another countdown, and you'll just keep going, and it'll overwrite the last one that you did. So we'll just let this finish. Another good thing to keep in mind is try to have some sort of script when you're doing the target and the source capturing. The reason for that is just so that the frequencies that you're playing are going to be the same between the two captured modes, so that when it does its comparison and it'll help to make the best emulated IR that it can. So I put a little script down, just about 5 or 6 chords that I'm going to be doing. Chords work better than scales, but you can still do scales as well. But I just put down a series of chords that I'm going to do, and then we'll walk through it. All right, so enough talking. Let's go ahead and do a capture here. So I'll just do some brief chording as it's doing its countdown. All right, so there you go. You see that it's done. So now I'm ready to do my source guitar. So the source guitar is the guitar that you're going to be playing, and it's the emulated IR is going to go over top of it. So just give me a quick second here as I change guitars. Okay, so now we're back with my source guitar, which is my main guitar. And we're going to set the pedal over to the source. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit the LED button again. And now we're blue. So now we're on the source section. So you're going to play the exact same progression, or I'm going to play the exact same progression. Again, same pickup selector. I'm on the bridge, just like I was on my target guitar, the Tele. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to get the countdown going. And remember that as you're doing this, if you make a mistake or something, you're just going to push the foot switch again and it'll overwrite. So you can do multiple takes and you shouldn't have any issues with this whatsoever. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to start the countdown and get recording with the source guitar. Okay, and there you go. So now you'll see the countdown completed. We're on the source, and I can overwrite it if I want to. But now I think if I'm happy with it, what I want to do is I want to save it. So I'm going to press the recess button to confirm my sample. And you can see that it's flashing there. I could save it somewhere else too if I wanted to, but I'm just going to leave it on the one that I want. So it's telling me where it's going to get saved. So now if I push and hold, oops, there, okay. So I did push and hold. but I pressed it a second time. So what you will see is another blinking light there at the 1, and then it saves at that slot. So, and you can see that the other ones are all still flashing. My new one, the solid one, is ready to go. So let's try it out. So now I've got my source guitar, and this is how it's going to work. You're going to be playing your source guitar, and as soon as you click in the tone capture, hopefully we'll hear the sound of a telly being played through the Ibanez. So let's give it a try. And then when we turn it on, pretty cool. So along with that, because you also can adjust the level, and you've got an amazing set of tone modifications with a 3-band graphic EQ and a sweepable mid. If I didn't like the way that the tone capture came out, meaning it's a little too brittle for a live performance, I can easily just bring the tone down and then bring it back to wherever it is that I want. And then you'll see the flashing light, and that's indicating that you've made an adjustment there. So I'm just going to hold it down again, and you can see the flash. So it's now saved to that particular slot. So you can edit any of the available slots, which is really, really cool. So if something worked well at home, but didn't quite work well live, you can go in, you can make an edit. It's going to flash to let you know that you've made a change, save the change, and you're good to go. So that's pretty cool. So let's actually do a bit of a change with the mid. So let's do a mid shift here. And so the mid shift, if you think like a parametric EQ, how it shifts the section of the mid range that you want to amplify or decrease. So I'm going to keep it right in the middle for right now. I'm going to try to anyways. And then I'm going to give it a boost. All right, so that's with it boosted. And then if I want to do a mid cut, go the other way. And then if I put it back to 12, and then we'll try just doing a little bit of a sweep there. And then we'll go to the clockwise full. So you can sweep around the mids as much as you want, and you're good. So if I just want to ignore what I did, I'm just going to click past it. I'm going to head back into my original slots. All right, so. Okay, so that's with the source guitar in an emulated state. And now I'm going to quickly switch back to the telly, and I'm going to turn it off, and let's hear what it sounds like. So a quick riffage again. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So it's not 100%. I don't think you would ever get 100%, not without actually having the two guitars here. But what an amazing thing to be able to do with just a quick capture set. You've got a really awesome captured tone from a telly. Now, one of the things that I also wanted to quickly mention is it's really incredibly responsive with the toggle switch. So this is with the bridge, but then you go up front. It really livens up the front pickup. I'll play it without it. So the profile, or the IR if you will, whatever you want to call it, because it's applied against the entire spectrum of your frequencies, it will apply it to your pickup configurations as well. So I've got a tele IR being applied to all the different pickup configurations, and it's going to sound tele on all of my pickup settings. So regardless of where my setting is, it's going to sound like a tele. So a three-way tele, so a three-way switch on a tele, but I've got a five-way switch on my Ibanez, and that's a pretty amazing thing to be able to do. So now you've got the IR loaded, you're doing multiple pickup configurations all against the IR, and it's kind of nice to be able to have that. So I'm talking way too much here. Let's go to the next section, and we're going to do a IR of the Les Paul. All right, so we've got the Les Paul plugged in, and we're ready to make an IR profile of our target guitar. So remember, the target guitar is the guitar you're trying to emulate, and then the source guitar is the one that you would be regularly playing. So I've got the pedal turned off right now. So I've already got something saved on channel 2 here, or slot number 2, and you can tell the difference because the available slots are blinking. And if you remember, channel 1 had my tele profile, and so channel 2, I want to delete it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it off first. Well, I'm going to make sure it's selected, and I'm going to turn it off first, and I'm going to hold down the LED button. Quick flash there, and now it's flashing, meaning that it's available for saving. It's an empty slot. All right, so to get started, what we're going to do again is we're going to, well, first of all, we're going to make sure that our pickup selection is the same on the source and the target. So I've got it set on the bridge, and now we're going to begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold the foot switch, and then our LED light is turning red. Then I'm going to hit the foot switch again. That's going to be our timer. And during that time, I'm going to play a few chords there just to give it some source frequencies to use. So let's get started on that. Okay, so you can see how it did its little countdown, and now it's ready to go. So it has completed its profiling of the target guitar. So now I'm going to hit the LED button, and now it's blue, so now it's ready for the source guitar. So let's do a quick switch. All right, so our source guitar, the guitar that we're trying to use against the target, if that makes sense, is ready to go. It's my Ibanez. So now we're going to do the exact same thing, but now we're in the blue state here, so we're going to do a quick click of the foot switch and play the exact same chord progression that I was playing earlier. So here we go. There we go, and it did the quick double flash to let us know that it's ready, and we can now save it. So if at any point, again, if I wanted to redo the profile, all I would have to do is hit the foot switch again. It'll do its countdown, and I would be playing during the countdown. But that's okay, I'm happy with this take. So now we're ready to go. So I'm going to hit the LED switch again, and it's blinking to let me know that I've made my changes. Do I want to save it? And at this point, I could go to a different slot, but for right now, I want to leave it on channel 2. And now I'm just going to hold down, and now it's ready to go. And you can see that channel 2 is now solid, so it's ready to go. So now you can just turn it on and off the profile. And I now have a completed profile of my Les Paul, or of my friend's Les Paul. All right, so this is the raw channel with no profile attached. So a subtle difference. And then turn it back on. So you can tell it's given a little bit more volume and a little bit more high end. That's a Les Paul. Sorry about that. There we go. Back on. So a little bit more brightness in that profile. And without it. And then back on. All right, so that's pretty cool. So because I've got a humbucker guitar and the Les Paul's a humbucker guitar, there isn't going to be as much of a difference there, but you can tell how there was a bit more brightness and a bit more volume. So if I wanted to change any of that, let's say I wanted to add a little bit more high end to this, I'm going to just go to the available EQ section here, and I'm going to go all the way down. All right, and makes it nice and muddy. And then I'm going to bring it back up. And because the EQ is saved on a per slot basis, what I'm setting here is not a global setting that gets applied to all of the slots here. It gets set to each individual slot. Okay, so this is the EQ on the IR profile on that channel. If I went to channel 1 and made an EQ adjustment, that does not get applied to the other channels or the other slots. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I've added some brightness here. Perhaps a little too much brightness, but I'm trying to demonstrate a comparison here. Okay, so now it's flashing to let me know that I've made a change and it's ready to be saved. So just like I would when I'm saving a profile, I'm just going to hold it down and it's going to flash for a second. There we go. So now that higher end, that EQ setting is now permanently set. So there's with it off. And then back on. Okay, so let's turn it back on. I'm going to adjust it back now. Go all the way back. And then I'm just going to leave it at 12 o'clock. All right. And then I'm going to push and hold to save it. And now it's nice and solid. Excuse me. And then my Les Paul profile on. And it's ready to go with the EQ settings. So always keep in mind that these EQ settings are individual to the channels that you're using. One other cool feature, and I think I mentioned this in the when we were doing with the Les Paul, you have a nice mid sweep here. So you can change the mid-range hump that you're using to do the editing with, and then you can either amplify it or you can diminish it. All right, so that's really, really cool. So let's add some drive to the channel. So I'm sitting on the Les Paul profile, and I'm going to throw overdrive on it. I've got the Mooer Brown sound that I'm going to use against it, and let's hear what that sounds like. Give it a little more volume. All right, cool. So, and then if I wanted to play without it and just use my regular guitar. And then if I want to use the telly, I'll just go over to channel 1. Okay, roll some volume back down. Okay, cool. And then back to the Les Paul again. And then if I wanted to turn it off. So you can see how handy something like this would be. Even just from an EQ perspective, you could have like 7 different EQ selections. You can have you can do what I did, where I went basically between 3 different guitars: my main guitar, then the tele profile, and then the Les Paul profile. I mean, that's incredibly handy. So, and then you can also adjust the volume. There's there's level, and then the whole EQ. I know I keep saying that, but you could even have it as like your regular guitar, and then you kick in the GTR pedal with the profile, and then with a little more volume, you could actually have a nice gain with a Les Paul boost with a gain. So there's quite a few possibilities that I think you could use with this pedal, and it's pretty amazing. So take some time to get through working on this using the profiling process. It could seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but actually it's got a smooth flow. You know, you select the slot, you delete it, you hold down a foot switch, and we'll go through this process one more time. The light goes red, you save it, you switch it over to the blue, go to your source guitar, and you save it. So there's a nice flow in saving and creating profiles, which is really, really cool. All right, so let's do a quick wrap up, and we'll be right back. All right, so that was the Tone Capture GTR by Mooer Audio. So what did we think about this pedal? It was pretty cool the way that you could create different profiles on different instruments. The tele sound was really, really cool, and I really liked the idea that I could go between different pickup configurations and have that tele profile applied to it. I thought that was really awesome. On the Les Paul, what I really enjoyed with that one is the EQing in the gain section, or the level section, I guess is what you would call it, being able to tailor the EQ to that profile, and then having the Les Paul profile, but then if you needed a little bit more high end, or you needed to sweep the mids a little bit, you have that ability. So, and then being able to have 7 possible instruments to choose from, that's incredible. Having the buffered bypass, true and buffered bypass ability is awesome. So you're going to find a lot of uses for this guitar, or this pedal, and you're probably going to spend way more time than I did in this video with it. So the other thing to keep in mind is Mooer Audio will offer a firmware update. So you're going to plug in a standard USB cable, something like this guy here. Okay, so just, I don't know if you can see it here, but just a standard USB like you would use for a cell phone. And that's going to plug right in here. And then, of course, the other end plugging in to your laptop. All right, so firmware updates down the road means that you're going to enjoy this pedal for a long, long time. So go check it out. You can find more information at mooeraudio.com, and have an awesome day.